The year 2020 was the year that gave us such things as the threat of World War III and Corona. Now, kids need an education, and a measly pandemic won't stop that, so school has been mostly online. It's 2021 now, and some people are going back to school physically. But will this put online learners at a disadvantage? I'm Skylar Love, and I'm joined by Arizona teens to discuss education in another episode of Swat On. Let's jump right into it with my first guest, Clay. Now, Clay, where do kids get motivation to stay focused in online school?
Well, I know for me, my motivation is thinking about what I can do after school, like take a nap, because I am nap dependent. I have to have a nap or I will go insane. Um, or for other kids, it might be playing video games, watching Netflix, watching Disney Plus, hanging out with friends. It just depends on their what they like to do. So I think that's where most kids find their motivation.
Chris, what about you?
I definitely agree with Clay. Like for me, I like just to watch like a Netflix and Hulu or something like that. But I also think that it's also about like trying to get good grades and trying to get the done like correctly and trying not to fail the semester itself. Yeah.
Diego, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with those answers. Just as Christopher said, the good grades definitely a motivation whether you're in person or online. And as Clay said, also, getting through the day and getting to something that is more comfortable, relaxed. Like they said, something like a Disney Plus, Netflix, just relaxing after a long day. But I think also a big motivating factor for online students is that it's a new format that they're getting used to, and it can become a little difficult sometimes. And that can just maybe trigger like, okay, we're in this. This is a new time. This is a new format, and this is what's going to determine my grades. So I got to get on it. I know, of course, me personally, when I started online before transitioning back into in person, I was having a lot of difficulty with online school in the first few days. But I think that motivated me to get better at it and to improve because I knew that this is the kind of stuff that will be determining my grades. So yeah, just the struggle of online at first kind of got me into a mood that made me want to, get better basically.
Thanks, Diego. Have Josue, have the grades of the students increased or decreased?
They have been decreasing over the past year, and it's mostly to how the pandemic has been treating us all and putting us in a situation where we have less social interaction with people, which for students, that causes them to, in most cases, get depression or get depressed and not do that well in school. And for me, that has been the case in the past, and I've seen it happen to like many of my own classmates.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I definitely agree with Josue. Like the pandemic has caused a lot of students, to feel stressed out and lead them to, like not doing assignments and failing classes and then, eventually failing the grade or getting a bad grade, I mean. But I think for me personally, I think I've been doing okay, hopefully, because this pandemic, yeah. Sorry, I messed up. Okay. For me personally, I think I'm doing okay because this pandemic has got me to like stop, socializing with friends in class because, we're alone in the pandemic, and it's led me to, being more focused and getting better grades than I usually do.
Well, not to flex or anything, but people like me have been getting amazing grades. They've been skyrocketing. But I know most people in schools have been getting lower grades just from what teachers have been saying and what students have been saying. So, yeah. Jake, how does the lack of student interaction affect a student?
The lack of student interaction affects a student because the student no longer feels a personal connection to school. And friends and peers are just a driving factor for many kids to want to go to school in the first place. especially because in our youthful years, we tend to prioritize a lot of the wrong things. But even then, that gets kids to go to school in the first place. And without this, a lot of kids have lost their drive.
Sabrina, do you share the same opinion?
I agree with Jake. I think it's a lot harder to do well in school because when you're in class, you talk to your friend if you miss something what the teacher said, or you ask them for notes, or you can ask them questions about the curriculum. And you can just help understand things because you have your friends around you and you have your peers to talk to. Because I think talking to teachers can be a little bit isolating sometimes. I think with just interaction in general, I get that. But with having a community and an attachment to my school and the community of that my school offers, I don't really identify with the whole school spirit thing or anything like that because it's just I don't have people to talk to about it.
Jeremiah, do you also agree?
Yeah, so kind of adding on to what Jake and Sabrina said, I would say that when it comes to the effects of students being able to socialize or talk to other students, I would definitely say it has affected in a negative way. And I know when you think of school, you don't immediately think of being sociable. One of the benefits that school does is it allows teachers, I would say, students to communicate with other people and see how working with others too. And so I think because of the online and everyone not being able to have face-to-face conversations, that is going to have a negative effect on students when it comes to their communication with others.
Well said, Jeremiah. Jake, you're up again. Do you find yourself more or less compelled to put effort into assignments when learning online?
I feel less compelled to put effort into assignments just because a big part of doing the schoolwork for me was being able to understand the subject with my classmates as well as my teachers. But without this exchange, effort is more focused on completion rather than good quality work.
Sabrina, do you agree?
I agree with what Jake said. I think that a lot of times now with online, a lot of teachers are grading now with completion instead of getting it correct. And so I don't really care that much about having the right answer or doing my best on an assignment because I don't think the teacher cares very much about looking over the assignment and trying to see if I'm doing well in class. And I don't think there's as much of that interaction and maybe a meaningfulness behind the assignments. It just kind of feels like busy work. And so I don't really want to put in that effort if they're not going to care that much about reading it.
Diego, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. In online school, there's definitely more distractions around you. You can say, or I think it's just where you are, kind of, mentally. If you really want to focus on the schoolwork, then yeah, you're going to be straight on it. But of course, you can get distracted by phones, TV, text messages, stuff that is usually like monitored in person school. So also, I feel like I need to bring up quizzes and tests. Of course, online it is very easy to cheat on them. And so I feel like if a person can easily cheat on a quiz or test and take online throughout the year, they can get that mentality like, I don't really have to work as hard as I usually would do when I don't have a phone and all this access around me. And it could cause, a sense of like, basically, I don't kind of laziness really, where you don't really want to complete complete the assignment or test the way you're supposed to.
Thanks, Diego. Now, Nora, let's talk about your mental health. Is it more conductive to learning in person or online?
I think people's mental health is more conducive when we're in person because when we're in person, we're interacting with a lot of people. We're interacting with teachers. We're doing hands-on things. We're with others. We're with our friends. And a lot of the times, that's the thing that we look forward to. I know I look forward to like seeing my friends at school and going to lunch and talking to them for a little bit. And when we're online, we don't have that. We're sitting alone for a long time, for hours and hours, doing tests, assignments, just doing like a lot of work on the computer. So that makes it more hard to understand things. And I feel like when it's hard to understand, you really feel like that sense of motivation really like disappearing. So that really harms our mental health itself.
Jake, how are you?
I think that remote learning has been conducive to a more negative mental standpoint, because compared to before the pandemic, all of us to a degree are in some type of isolation, like just as we were forced to in March 2020. And this just inherently impacts our mental health because as humans, we just simply need human interaction in order to keep our mental health in check. And being so sedentary in front of a computer and like literally like a lack of sunlight is just unhealthy. And also because many of us agree that the material we learned online isn't as valued back as we did in person, we can feel as though we're being unproductive, and that leads us just to a worse mindset.
Diego, what about you?
I feel that Nora and Jake could have said it any better. The human interaction part is really big, and of course, going to school every year, you're always making new friends, meeting new people, and getting like in front of a screen for hours. It can be unhealthy, and it can bum you out when you sign up for a specific class that is very hands-on. For example, like a ceramics class or weights or anything like that requires a lot of equipment that isn't available to you at home. And if it's something you're really passionate about, getting to not do those things, I can imagine is a bummer. So yeah, I feel like when it comes to your mental health, in-person school kind of leans more into a positive direction.
Thanks, Diego. Again, Sabrina, are teachers trying to accommodate for the difficulties of the online environment?
I don't think they are. I think they're trying, but I don't think they're accommodating for any of the issues that we're really having. All of teachers complain in front of me about what a burden it is that we're online. And in my French class, it used to be a hybrid class, but then the online kids were too much of a burden and they were slowing the in-person class down. So now we just do asynchronous work all the time. And I just don't feel like I'm learning as much because I feel like the teachers aren't trying to maybe give lenience to our assignments at my school. And so they're not trying to make it any better.
Jake, you've answered 3 times. Answer a 4th.
In my experience, yes, teachers are trying to accommodate, but as Sabrina said, just maybe approaching it in a wrong way. A lot of them are also trying to accommodate centered around the completion of work and not necessarily the understanding. They're being more lenient on due dates. Assignments that would have been due at the end of class are now due at 11:59 that night, and that shows that they are trying somewhat. But again, it's revolving around the completion and not necessarily the understanding or the want to like for the knowledge. But we have to remember that the teachers as well are learning about the environment as well with us. So it's best that both sides of the teaching relationship are understanding and are willing to communicate with each other on the needs for both sides of that exchange.
Yeah, no, my teachers just straight up are not trying at all to accommodate for any of this at all. Are students that are introverts thriving at home? What about extroverts? Jeremiah, can you answer the question?
Yeah, so when it comes to introverts, I would definitely say I don't know if I would use the word thriving because thriving means to me at least, I would means that they wouldn't want it to change. So I would say thriving. I would say it's easier because they don't have to deal with as many people around. However, I would say that this just because it's easier doesn't mean that they wanted to stay like this for permanently, and that if it was up to them, they would still at least want to be able to hang out with their friends but they can't because of us being online. So no, I would not say thriving. And especially when it comes to extroverts, I would definitely say no, because extroverts are known to be more social and want to be around other peers. And so I would definitely have to say that this has definitely been a hard time for extroverts since I am one myself.
Clay, do you think they're thriving?
Me being somewhere in the middle, I have felt the pain of online school and the happiness of online school. On one hand, I enjoy not being around as many people as I know in a normal class. Um, and at least at my school, I'm able to go at my own pace, so I don't have to wait up if anyone's like behind. But on the other hand, I missed the socialization, the the fact that you get to actually talk to people in person kind of doesn't really work out for me because I'm not able to do it. So I have to say for extroverts it's kind of hard because they're the social butterflies, and for introverts I think they're enjoying it right now.
I got another question for you, Clay. Do students feel confident in their knowledge gained from online school compared to their in-person results?
For me, I would say, well, from my experience, I would say no, because I had to teach myself how to do the stuff I'm doing. Um, I feel really more comfortable with um, in-person school teaching because the teachers are there and you can just ask them. So for me, I would say no.
Ben, I've got two questions for you. Are students that are introverts thriving at home? What about extroverts?
I would say for introverts, me myself being an introvert, I would say that it's definitely easier during the pandemic than probably most people, but it's still definitely, I'd say, better in person for being able to socialize with friends. I've found that apps like Discord are helpful for being able to catch up with friends, and I've been playing a lot of video games online with friends and participating in clubs like this one. And then I would say for the next question on students feeling confident about learning online, that I would say it definitely depends on the teacher, because certain teachers are a lot more tech savvy than others. But I would say it's definitely possible to be just as confident with what you're learning online as in person if you've got a good teacher who knows what they're doing.
Right, Nora, do students feel confident in their knowledge gained from online school compared to their in-person results?
I personally feel like I don't really feel as confident with everything I'm learning right now. I've been in in-person school for literally all of my life and all of high school. So now that everything's online, I just feel like I'm basically memorizing things rather than learning them. I'm just memorizing it for a couple days. I just pick it up and I let it go at some point in time. And I'm just doing things just because it feels like busy work and just like I need to earn the completed grade rather than the incompleted. And I know a lot of people are having trouble, especially because I know a lot of people go to online class just to log in, or they'll log in and they'll go to sleep, or they'll log in and they'll go to the store and things like that. So I don't really think that anybody's feeling confident, or anybody that I know personally feels confident in online school.
Diego, do you have any final thoughts on the conversation?
Yeah, I think the debate and the comparisons between online and in person, I can understand both sides. In person, of course, you can say that they have a lot more access to different things, whether it's like actual physical teacher help, student interactions, a lot of hands-on learning with different things. But online students, you can say that they're in a more comfortable space, and they feel like they can get their work done possibly quicker, easier, feel more relaxed while doing their schoolwork in the comfort of their own home. So I understand both sides, yes, you can say one is kind of limited when it comes to the, like I just said, student interaction, teacher interaction. But a lot of people really do seem to enjoy online. Of course, those that kind of struggle with it aren't afraid to come out about it and consider in-person school. But I think the way things are going right now, this won't be the last time we see online school, and I think it will be sticking around for a while.
You heard it here. Some people may be at a disadvantage, but most of us can make it work. Hopefully in the future, when Corona doesn't exist, we'll all be able to return to normal life. Until then, remember, Bill Gates isn't in the vaccine. He can't hurt you. I'd like to thank my guest for joining me today, and thank you, viewer, for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and if you'd like to join the discussion, comment below. From Spots 127, I'm Skylar Love, and you've been watching another episode of Spot On.